A $230 million nightmare is unfolding in Cleveland, and Pat McAfee has officially had enough of the toxic media circus trying to drag down Shedeur Sanders. While national hot takers dissect every single micro-rep and practice clip in slow motion, McAfee is planting his flag live on air with an unfiltered, explosive declaration. The Browns finally found a legitimate spark when their rookie stepped onto the field and started winning games, yet the front office remains trapped in a multi-million-dollar dilemma. Can Cleveland actually sit the guy who brought real energy back to the franchise just to protect a massive, fully guaranteed contract that has produced nothing but dysfunction? In this deep dive, we break down why McAfee called out the entire sports media machine for profiting off fake drama while ignoring pure football logic. Stick around until the end as we expose the front office trap that could doom Cleveland's season or unleash the most shocking quarterback revolution in recent NFL history. The tension reached a boiling point the moment Pat McAfee kicked off his show, leaning directly into his microphone to confront a wave of incoming backlash from internet critics and traditional media heads. People were furious, claiming his platform had abandoned objective journalism in favor of unabashedly rooting for Shedeur Sanders. Rather than offering a PR-approved apology or walking back his enthusiasm, McAfee met the hostility head-on with his signature high-octane energy, turning the criticism entirely on its head. He didn't just defend his coverage, he drew a line in the sand, declaring to millions of viewers that his program was proudly, unapologetically pro-Shedeur. To McAfee, the outrage surrounding his show's stance isn't about journalistic integrity at all. It is a byproduct of a cynical sports media landscape that feels uncomfortable whenever a young, dynamic quarterback defies their prepackaged narratives and draft day slotting. McAfee laid out his reasoning with raw, undeniable clarity. We are a pro-Shedeur show. As soon as he got on the field for the Browns, they found a spark and were winning games. I don't want the Browns to do classic Brown stuff. That simple statement encapsulates the core frustration felt by millions of football fans who actually watch the games instead of staring at spreadsheets. When Shedeur stepped onto the field late last season, as a fifth-round rookie thrown into the fire of an unstable situation, the entire atmosphere surrounding the Cleveland Browns changed in an instant. Up until that point, the team had been bogged down by sluggish offensive drives, uninspired play calling, and a heavy cloud of fan apathy. Shedeur didn't just play quarterback. He injected an immediate surge of electrifying confidence into a lifeless locker room, completely altering the team's posture on the field. The context of Shedeur's late-season takeover makes McAfee's impassioned stance even more compelling. Taken in the fifth round, Sanders arrived in Cleveland with endless external chatter, pre-draft scrutiny, and low expectations from national pundits. Yet, when called upon, he stepped into the pocket with remarkable composure, rallying his teammates and capturing 3 improbable wins. Were his stats perfect? Absolutely not. He endured the typical growing pains, rookie reads, and uneven box scores expected of a young signal caller learning on the fly behind a battered offensive line. But as McAfee relentlessly pointed out, football is fundamentally about winning football games and galvanizing 43 men on a sideline, not pleasing fantasy football coordinators. Shedeur showed rare grit, an uncanny instinct for extending plays, and a knack for delivering under high-pressure late-game scenarios. He gave the city of Cleveland something it hadn't felt in a long time: genuine hope. McAfee's opening salvo serves as a stern warning to the Browns organization not to throw away that authentic momentum just to appease executive optics or retreat back into the comfortable dysfunction of their past. The momentum on the show shifted into high gear as former NFL general manager Mike Tannenbaum joined the broadcast, bringing the cold, hard perspective of a former front office decision-maker into the debate. Tannenbaum didn't mince words or offer diplomatic corporate speak. He immediately framed the entire quarterback competition in Cleveland as an absolute no-brainer. From his perspective, the Browns have a fundamental responsibility to stop delaying the inevitable and officially move on from Deshaun Watson. Tannenbaum argued that a general manager's most crucial duty is knowing when to admit a colossal mistake, write off the sunk costs, and hand the reins over to the young passer who actually possesses room to grow. He insisted that new offensive coordinator Todd Monken desperately needs to find out what he has in Shedeur Sanders, noting that Sanders has all the physical tools, arm talent, and upside required to be the franchise's long-term answer. In Tannenbaum's eyes, continuing to linger on Watson, a player who will almost certainly not be on the roster in 2027, is complete operational madness. That is precisely where Pat McAfee stepped in to force a reality check on the entire discussion. Leaning forward, McAfee immediately hit Tannenbaum with the massive multi-million-dollar elephant in the room that every front office in professional sports dreads facing. $230 million, Tannenbaum. You're telling me if that guy can stand on a football field, they won't put him out there? McAfee shouted, highlighting the astronomical financial pressure weighing on Cleveland's brass. It was an explosive moment that exposed the raw friction between pure football logic and harsh business reality. In a vacuum, football decisions are supposed to be made based strictly on performance, winning, and locker room dynamics. But in the real world of the modern NFL, an owner and general manager who attached their reputations and a fully guaranteed $230 million contract to a single veteran cannot simply bench that player without enduring massive corporate embarrassment. The clash between McAfee and Tannenbaum captured the exact dilemma agonizing the Cleveland Browns. On one hand, you have Tannenbaum's analytical, cut-your-losses philosophy. Watson's tenure has been derailed by multiple severe injuries, including 2 torn Achilles tendons, which have permanently robbed him of the pocket mobility and escapability that once made him dangerous. Tannenbaum forcefully argued that even if Watson walked on water, the team would never extend him, so playing him over Sanders actively harms the franchise's future trajectory. On the other hand, McAfee laid bare the terrifying political reality inside NFL executive suites. When $230 million of guaranteed money is sitting on the bench while a former fifth-round rookie takes snaps, every single loss or mistake under Sanders becomes an instant indictment of management's catastrophic spending. It is a high-stakes standoff where financial pride is directly warring with team success. The core of Pat McAfee's explosion centered on the absurdly magnified, highly toxic media circus surrounding every single breath Shedeur Sanders takes on a football field. McAfee called out the relentless, hyper-fixated spectacle created by national sports networks and social media aggregators who treat routine training camp reps as if they were matters of high-state intelligence. In today's digital sports landscape, a standard 5-yard completion in July isn't just a practice play, it is sliced into slow-motion clips, passed for footwork flaws, zoom analyzed for eye progression, and transformed into a multi-platform outrage engine. McAfee pointed directly to recent internet panics, such as commentators obsessing over split-second interactions between Shedeur and veteran wideout Jerry Jeudy, or dissecting routine incomplete passes to generate sensationalized headlines. Every throw, throwaway, or body language nuance is instantly spun into a national crisis by television networks, desperate for rage-bait content, creating an environment where a young quarterback cannot make a single mistake without it being treated as a systemic failure. This toxic machine thrives on outrageous hot takes and synthetic drama, because calm, objective football analysis simply doesn't drive social media engagement. Aggregator accounts and sports talk hosts intentionally strip away context, ignoring factors like second-team offensive line rotations, experimental route concepts, or defensive coverage disguises to frame every bad rep as proof that Sanders is unready for the NFL stage. McAfee held nothing back when calling out this hypocrisy, highlighting how veteran starting quarterbacks around the league drop interceptions or misread defenses in practice every single summer without a single camera crew zooming in on their helmet expression. Yet, because Sanders carries immense notoriety, a famous last name, and an unapologetic persona, the national media ecosystem profits off blowing normal practice routine completely out of proportion. They monetize every throw, turning a routine training camp battle into a daily referendum on his character, leadership, and right to be an NFL starter. In response to this onslaught of manufactured noise, McAfee delivered a fierce defense of Sanders' character, mental toughness, and proven track record. He systematically dismantled the bad faith narratives that have followed Shedeur since his college days, starting with the ridiculous, fabricated rumors alleging he lacked conditioning or commitment. McAfee pointed to the hard facts. Sanders arrived at Cleveland's facility in phenomenal physical shape, sharper than ever, and ready to compete at the highest level. More importantly, McAfee reminded the audience of Shedeur's undeniable competitive lineage and resilience. At Jackson State, he dominated under intense public spotlight, leading his program to back-to-back Southwestern Athletic Conference championships and showing a relentless work ethic. When he stepped up to Power 5 competition at Colorado, he took on extraordinary pressure, playing behind a heavily retooled offensive line while taking punishing hits every Saturday, yet still putting up prolific numbers and elevating the entire program's national profile. Sanders has spent his entire career in a pressure cooker, proving time and time again that intense media scrutiny does not rattle his composure or dim his competitive drive. McAfee emphasized that this unflappable mental strength is precisely what makes Shedeur built for a turbulent franchise like the Cleveland Browns, where other young quarterbacks might crumble under the relentless weight of national television debates, social media trolling, and front office politics. Shedeur thrives in the eye of the storm. He doesn't look for excuses, nor does he alter his personality to fit traditional corporate molds. He simply puts his helmet on, steps onto the practice gridiron, and drops dimes to his receivers. For McAfee, the national sports media's obsession with dragging Sanders down isn't just unfair, it is an insult to a young athlete who has done nothing but win games, produce on the field, and handle unprecedented media heat with remarkable poise. Pat McAfee dissects the executive doublespeak coming directly from Cleveland's front office, focusing his sights on general manager Andrew Berry's carefully guarded, non-committal press statements regarding the organization's quarterback of the future. Throughout the offseason, Berry has walked a delicate public relations tightrope, offering polished corporate non-answers whenever pressed about whether Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson holds the ultimate key to the franchise. McAfee picked apart Berry's neutral phrasing line by line, exposing how the front office uses sanitized buzzwords like open competition and evaluating all options to avoid making a definitive commitment to either player. While Berry publicly praises Shedeur's phenomenal growth and spring progression, he simultaneously leaves the door wide open for Watson to reclaim the starting role, refusing to declare a true passing of the torch. To McAfee, this political fence-sitting isn't strategic prudence. It is executive hedging designed to shield leadership from public accountability if the team's $250 million investment fails to produce results on the field. McAfee issued a passionate, unequivocal warning against falling into what he branded as classic Browns behavior. For over 2 decades, the Cleveland franchise has been repeatedly paralyzed by systemic organizational dysfunction, a cycle driven by organizational ego, draft day panic, and a stubborn refusal to cut losses on high-priced mistakes. McAfee pointed out that starting Watson solely to validate his gargantuan fully guaranteed contract is the absolute quintessential embodiment of that historic curse. forcing a veteran under center simply because his contract sits heavily on the salary cap, rather than playing the dynamic young passer who energizes the locker room and wins games, prioritizes executive self-preservation over actual athletic merit. McAfee warned that if the front office mandates playing Watson just to save face in the owner's suite, they risk suffocating the rare authentic spark Shedeur injected into the city, dragging the team back into the familiar abyss of front office politics and widespread fan frustration. While top executives worry about press conferences, financial optics, and long-term legacy narrative, the coaching staff operates under a completely different, unforgiving set of rules on the football field. McAfee emphasized the stark divergence between front office politics and the coaching staff's immediate reality, specifically highlighting offensive coordinator Todd Monken and head coach Kevin Stefanski. Football coaches do not receive multi-year luxury passes to justify past financial expenditures. They are judged week to week, drive by drive, and game by game on win-loss columns. Monken's primary imperative isn't to justify a historic $230 million contract. It is to field a scoring offense, win football games, and keep his job in an industry where losing guarantees a mid-season pink slip. Coaches cannot afford to play a stagnant passer out of corporate obligation while a playmaker sits on the bench. McAfee made it abundantly clear that if Shedeur gives Monken and this offense the best mathematical chance to move the chains, score points, and rack up victories, the coaching staff will and absolutely must fight to put the best quarterback on the field, regardless of how uncomfortable it makes the front office. Pat McAfee's fiery monologue culminated not in a display of cynicism, but in a rare moment of genuine empathy for one of the most long-suffering fan bases in all of professional sports. Stripping away the theatrical bravado and television theatrics, McAfee made his underlying motivation crystal clear to his audience. He roots for Shedeur Sanders because he desperately wants the people of Cleveland to finally experience authentic football happiness. For decades, Browns faithful have endured an agonizing carousel of draft busts, front office embarrassments, and high-priced acquisitions that yielded nothing but heartbreak and frustration. McAfee passionately argued that the fans in Northeast Ohio do not care about payroll structure, guaranteed cap hits, or executive optics. They care about seeing a team that plays with heart, competes on every snap, and wins games on Sunday afternoon. Shedeur represents an infusion of unvarnished excitement and swagger that this franchise hasn't felt in generations, giving a battle-tested fan base something rare to rally around. A young quarterback who embraces the city, works tirelessly, and thrives when the lights are brightest. The immediate horizon brings an ultimate moment of truth as Cleveland enters its high-stakes preseason slate. Up until now, the coaching staff has managed to maintain a diplomatic split of first-team snaps in practice, allowing both Sanders and Watson to rotate under controlled conditions, but controlled summer practices can only mask organizational tension for so long. The upcoming live exhibition games will force the organization's hand in full view of the football world. These preseason reps will serve as an unvarnished litmus test for general manager Andrew Berry and head coach Kevin Stefanski. When opposing defenses bring unscripted blitzes and the stadium lights turn on, the film will yield an undeniable verdict on which quarterback actually commands the huddle, executes Todd Monken's offense efficiently, and puts points on the scoreboard. Will the front office possess the institutional courage to let pure, merit-based performance dictate the depth chart, or will they succumb to corporate panic and force a high-priced veteran under center simply to shield a $250 million contract from public criticism? Ultimately, Pat McAfee's explosive rant cut through the endless chatter of the sports media landscape because it exposed the fundamental crisis at the heart of modern sports management. His tirade wasn't merely about defending a charismatic young quarterback against harsh internet aggregators. It was a crusade against the fear-driven political decision-making that keeps struggling franchises locked in perpetual mediocrity. By fearlessly calling out the absurdity of the media circus and demanding accountability from executive suites, McAfee articulated what every honest football fan already knows: winning must always supersede financial pride. As the 2026 season approaches, the Cleveland Browns stand at an explosive crossroads that will define the trajectory of the organization for years to come. They can either repeat past mistakes by clinging to a massive contract out of obligation, or they can trust the raw energy of their young passer and embark on a thrilling new era. McAfee has drawn his line in the sand, and now the rest of the football world waits to see if Cleveland has the guts to do the same.